3 a.m. Call to order. Exactly. This meeting is called to order. And as you all just heard, we are acknowledging that this is being recorded. Do you want to do the roll call, Woody?
Certainly. And we have this morning Miss Isabella Costa, Miss Sarah Ali,
Present.
Miss Sophia Echevarria,
Present.
Mr. Rod Hamilton, Dr. Jackie Kimbrough, Miss Jennifer Price Lester,
Present.
and Miss Ruth Stolford.
Present.
All right, and then also, I think Ruth already did it, but just acknowledge everyone that this meeting will be recorded. Awesome.
Great. So let's just move into the approval of the meeting minutes. The minutes have been circulated. Let me just find them. Oh my God, what did I just do? Okay. The minutes dated from our meeting May 12th, 2021. Are there any edits, changes, comments? Okay, looks like there are not. Sorry, my screen is doing crazy things. Okay, there you go. So then I will bring this motion to the floor. The CDLA board moves to accept and adopt the May 12th, 2021 meeting minutes as presented at the June 24th, 2021 Board of Directors meeting, pending revisions if applicable, not. So I need a second.
I second.
Thank you, Sarah Lee seconds. Minutes are, we don't need to vote. Minutes are approved as is. Thank you. All right, let's move on. So I think what we should do, the next item on our agenda is the finance update, which includes the audit committee appointment. So I'd like to actually appoint the audit committee, officially do that first, and then we will have Jennifer do a quick recap of a meeting, and then Anita can provide additional information, and then we can move forward on the items that are under this category. Okay, so so I'm going to bring this motion to the floor per Article 4, Section 4 of our bylaws. The CDLA board moves to accept and approve the appointment of the audit committee to include the following people: Joe Blackstone, Jennifer Price Lesher, and Sandy Nasiri. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Sarah. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous. Motion passes. Our audit committee has officially been formed.
I think Jackie joined it. Dr.
Oh,
Kimbrough
did
did.
Jackie join?
Yeah, I didn't hear her vote for that one. She may be abstaining, but I just didn't give her a chance to.
Hi, Jackie. Well, I know she may be in a crowded place with not great service, so. Let's see. All right, well, we can,
Oh,
if Jackie,
I think she's trying to speak, but we can't. You might be on mute, Jackie. There you go.
let me, yeah, maybe we can unmute her. Maybe you can unmute her? I don't
She's
know.
there.
I'm unmuted. Now I am.
Yay.
Yay!
Yes. Hello, everybody.
Thank you for joining, Jackie.
I think this is going to be just a quick few minutes. I'm traveling, but I'm between locations. So I just want to say good morning and let you know I'm thinking of you and wish I were there.
Well, thank you.
I really do.
Safe travels.
Well, soon
Okay, thanks.
we will all be in person, and safe travels. And do you want to just register your vote for the audit committee?
Yes, I do. The vote is yes for all
Thank
the
you.
names. Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay,
And
thank you.
thank
Bye-bye
you. Bye. And this, just so you know, does not preclude adding committee members down the road. It's just for this phase, we need to move forward on that. Okay, great. So Jennifer is going to give a quick recap of the audit committee meeting, and then Anita can provide additional information. You ready?
Yes, thank you. And Anita will provide a lot of additional information. I'll just do the very top level. The audit committee met on Monday, and let's see, we've already listed the members for the record, so you know who they are. I should mention that we discussed auditing firms, both for construction and then a separate auditing firm. Discussion was held about a subsequent auditing firm for when the school opens. We've chosen Novogradac. We recommend to the board that you select Novogradac for the construction phase, and Anita can talk a little bit more about that and why they were chosen. And then for the school phase, we will come to you with an additional recommendation or a separate recommendation for an auditing firm that better represents school capacity and not necessarily the construction capacity. And we're vetting a handful of auditors. Anita and the team from Exid have a whole host for us to choose from. So, Anita, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Jennifer, you did so well.
Thanks. I sort of stumbled, but appreciate it.
Jennifer and Anita, can I ask that RSM, the auditor for a couple of the seed schools, be added to the list when we're starting to consider? And then, obviously they need to meet the California requirements, but just in terms of consideration, if we could just add them.
Yes,
Yeah,
they do have to be on the California state list, so they have to.
I understand that. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking us to put them on, like, they would be responsible for being on the list. That's not but what I'm asking us to do is to actually not, to make them, make it available to them if they qualify.
absolutely. And
That's
I think, Leslie, I don't know how much interaction you have with them, but you may want to give them a heads up now so that they have time, if they are not already on the list, to do whatever it takes to get qualified. Anita, maybe you can speak a little bit more to that.
Yes, I don't know how long, but I agree that it takes a while, probably.
Yeah,
Anything
we can do
takes.
the homework. I mean, it's up to them to do the homework. I just want to, I actually want us to consider, I just want them to be considered. That's all. And so
Absolutely.
if they don't do the work, no problem.
Absolutely.
So I think you explained it well. So Novogradac did all the modeling and for this, the financing, and in order for all the players to get their tax credits correct and the lenders and all of that to work and to be organized correctly, it seems a good idea to have somebody who understands and has the esoteric expertise of the new markets tax credits and this project. So that was the reason why we recommended them. There are not that they're the key player, certainly in California, that has that esoteric expertise in new markets tax credits. There weren't that many others. And we will, so next year, so this is the audit for 2021, just so you know, and it's an audit that includes all of the affiliated entities. And I think it was, if I remember correctly, 15,000 and then 3,500 for the tax return.
Yes. Let's see.
So do we need to call for a motion or put forward a motion both for the selection of the auditor and then for the expenses related to hiring that auditor, or just the selection of the auditor at this time?
Right. Yes, just the selection of the auditor. Yes, there we go.
Thank you. I'm so glad I don't have to come up with those words on the fly. Appreciate you for
know.
that.
I know the feeling. Would you like to bring the motion to the floor, Jennifer?
Yes, the audit committee would like to propose the following motion, that the Seed LA board move to accept and approve the recommendation of the audit committee to engage an auditor of record for fiscal year 21-22. Do I need to state the auditing firm by name here? The auditing firm that we recommend is Novogradac.
I second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Did you say aye, Jennifer?
I think I'm supposed to abstain if I'm putting the motion forward, or I approve, but I don't know if I'm allowed, Madam Chair.
I believe you are, and
Then aye.
Yes, according to Robert's rule of order, you do have the right to cast a vote. And should.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vote cast.
and thank you for casting it. So the vote is unanimous. The Seed LA board moves to accept and approve the recommendation of the audit committee to engage an auditor of record for fiscal year 2021-22. Auditor of record is Novogradac. Thank you.
Congratulations. That's a huge move.
It is, and it's really exciting. And also we believe the audit actually comes in September, just so everyone knows. We can move into the Exid financial services approval. The agreements had been circulated previously, actually a couple of weeks ago. They've been vetted as is customary through our legal team. And so we just need to officially approve these and move forward. Did anybody have any questions about that? Go ahead. All right. So I'll bring this motion to, there's so few of us. I'll bring this motion to the floor. The Seed LA board moves to engage Exid as financial services back office provider for fiscal year 2021 and 2022 for the terms of the management agreement. May I have a second?
Second. Sorry, Sophia.
That's okay.
Great. All those in favor say aye. Ruth says aye.
Aye, Sarah.
Aye, Sophia.
Aye, Jennifer.
Motion is passed unanimously. The Seed LA board moves to engage Exid as financial services back office provider for fiscal year 2021-2022 for the terms of the management agreement. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations to all of us on that one.
I know. All right, so we are really ahead of schedule, Anita, and you said that Sean may be coming from another meeting, so.
I didn't, Woody said it.
Oh, Woody, sorry.
Yeah, I can just give him a buzz, but I moved him a little bit later.
That's okay. I mean, but
We can update if you want.
yeah, we can update it. I literally just finished talking to the project manager for the site. Not that I know anything more, but I can at least give a fake me out update.
Do it. Bring it.
Great. Anita, you're joining. Unmute yourself so that you can join me here, though.
It's easy. I can do that.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
great. So so what needs to happen is happening, right? So we have a fence up. There are bulldozers on site. They are leveling and clearing. We did run into about 2 or 3 weeks ago when they went to actually relocate some utilities. They discovered that utilities that had been documented as not actually being alive or being present or being active, they discovered that they were active. I think that there are 3 or 4 AT&T, Anita, you have the other, I'm not going to get the names right. So there were 3 utilities that were actually active, and we have spent much of the last 2 weeks really trying to circumvent, any kind of delay and to get them to actually relocate their copper wires, their other fiber wires and everything. Some of it is cable, AT&T, and something else. And I'm not oversimplifying it, but it is live cables in the ground that need to be relocated. And between Anita, Sean, Laura, friends of ours at the city, and lawyers, we are engaging those utility companies to really try and figure out the most expedited solution possible. And then the current strategy, per Steve from Bernard's this morning, is that the plan was to start construction on the corner where the utilities are. They've actually reversed the start of construction. They're going to start where the gym is and the dining room and build half of the dorm, and then sort of work their way to where the current utilities are. But we are actually employing a multi-pronged strategy, right? Get them moved quickly, and keep construction going. I think, Sarah, you always sort of ask, like, what's the sky falling option? So let me just sort of say what the worst case scenario is. I think worst case scenario, which we don't anticipate, is that, the utilities, dig their heels in, don't take our calls, and take forever to move their utility lines, and it costs a lot of money, right? I think that's the worst case scenario, which we don't believe it's the case, what we're going to see, but just to answer the question before it's asked.
I appreciate your anticipation of my question.
The companies so it's AT&T, as Leslie mentioned, Charter Spectrum, or it's Spectrum, but it's owned by Charter Communications. And we have gotten in touch with the head of public affairs, because I think that's where you can get a sense of urgency. And then there's another one called Zayo, Z-A-Y-O, something don't know anything about, and I'm going to start about to research them. So that's, if anybody knows anything related to them.
Well, I assume that most people who live in LA County have Charter Spectrum as their internet provider, because it's a racket, basically. You're forced to purchase them. But I don't know about their services to something like as large of a residential area as, say, like our dorms are going to be. I do know that from experience, and I'm sure that y'all also know this, that Spectrum likes to cut out a lot. So that's just something to be aware of in the future, especially during blackout season. So just FYI.
Yeah, in this case, what we're trying to do is get rid of the cable underneath, and not necessarily, put in new cable at the moment. It's just getting rid of this and relocating it. The problem is possibly, and I'm not quite sure, well, actually, we have it down. I just can't pull it at the moment. But how many people are served by the current active cables right now? So I think it's only like 500 in the area for Spectrum, but I'm not sure. I'll look. So we don't want to, I think what Leslie was referring to is we don't want to just rip it out, which we actually have the right to do probably, or possibly, because that would affect the everything for folks in the neighborhood. Or
Oh, I see. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you for
we
sharing
sort of,
that.
Anita is right. It is not in our best interest to rip it out. But I'm not completely sure that that shouldn't happen, but it is better for us to not be the ones ripping it out. And I don't really think it has to be ripped out. Like it can be what's the term? They can loop it. They can I don't know.
Redistribute it or
Yeah, thank you. They can
relay
redistribute
it.
it. Yeah, reloop. They can actually take it and put it somewhere else. But and there's no need in us getting in the weeds on this because this is changing every hour of every moment. But I just thought you wanted to know sort of the latest and the greatest of sort of what we're managing. And I think we have the right team. And I can't actually state the value of the relationships that people have, because otherwise we might be like, really underwater here, but our ability to pick up a phone and to be connected is great. And I think the thing that Steve from Bernard said this morning, like he picked this project, right? It's really his swan song. They asked him to do another project and he did not, he just said, no, thank you. I want this seed project. He did Mark Ridley Thomas's first construction project, and he feels like he's doing his last one as county supervisor, and then he's going to retire. And so he's determined to get the buildings up. And so I think we're in a good place, but just the nature of what we are dealing with right now.
That is so touching. Thank you for sharing that.
I know. Mark Ridley Thomas has so much goodwill. There really are a lot of people who have stepped up and because of him when he was supervisor. I have a question, and I'm sure this has been explored. Any precedent for the utility companies covering any costs that might be incurred if this does cause a delay that costs us?
Yeah, we had a call yesterday, and I guess this is a similar situation that happened in the city of Inglewood with the SoFi Stadium. And in that it was resolved is all I keep getting at, which they kept saying. And it didn't sound like, it sounds like the cable companies resolved it, not the developer. So they are putting us in touch also with it's Lisa Trifoletti and team with the team that did that one, just so that we have some background and information. It's not clear they're going to charge us on the relocation. It's just totally unclear at the moment what it is. And like everything, a lot on this project, it gets slightly complicated related to city and county, both because it's in the city, but it's county-owned property. So the who and how, it gets complicated. And one other thing I'll just mention on this and then be done, but another complicating factor I've learned is getting the contractors to remove it because of fears of electrocution and everything else. So there's just, it's not just so easy that like we could remove it or anybody. It's clear that the kind of contractors that can do it. But it's great news about Bernard's, and it seems like everybody's working to resolve things. So we'll get there.
Great. Any other questions?
Who's the other provider? I heard Zio and Charter.
AT&T.
Thank you.
All right. So it seems like if you want to let Sean know, he can probably jump on if he's around for the temporary site update.
Yeah, I think Anita and I can take care of that.
Great.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And just as a just as a quick note, we will officially stand up the temporary site committee in our next board meeting because it is not agendized here. So we will do that in our next board meeting, appointed,
Right.
authorized.
Great. And then Ruth, before that meeting, if we could just sort of talk through then like what the goal of that committee is, just so that those of us who are sort of like out there every day, like understand like kind of like what we're pushing toward. And so that just would be helpful.
Okie dokie.
Anita, you want to give a update?
Well, we're seeing some of you, Ruth and Sarah and Rod and Leslie are visiting the American Jewish University site today at noon with a tour. They just confirmed everything about it. And you want to say something, Leslie, about yesterday?
No, go ahead. You got the mic.
We looked at another site yesterday, which is called Camp Bob Waldorf. It used to be called Camp Max Strauss, if anybody long time remembers. It's in Glendale, not very far. Amazing to me, this camp really in a residential area of Glendale, not too far off the 210. But I think so. It's a really pretty campsite. And there's just some issues about. Leslie can talk about the issues. She knows more of them from direct experience. So
it's a camp, right? So it has camp-like facilities, right? Mostly standalone rooms, large rooms. I won't call them barrack style, but that's, draw your picture. Actually, Sophia, very West Virginia like. And only
no
Sophia.
flashbacks.
Yeah, I know.
One time at this place in West Virginia, I went to the bathroom in the middle of the night and I got stuck in the stall because there was a spider on the inside side of the door.
Yeah.
That's it.
A spider that looked like that. That was a country spider. I didn't know how to deal with it. And I was just trapped. I was trapped in the bathroom for like 15 minutes. Sorry.
So, that's okay. So but I will say like, so it's my personal goal to have 3 options. Because I think that history has taught us that until we sign on the dotted line and really have agreement, right, that we keep negotiating. And so it's really a goal to have for me personally, and I think for us organizationally, to have 3 options and to not until we all have agreement by way of contract, do we actually stop negotiating. And so even this site that is actually beautiful, right? Like absolutely beautiful trees, outdoor space, swimming pool, large dining hall. But we would have to work to make the facilities work. And so they have some sleeping accommodations that have bathrooms inside the building. And then they have some where it is outside the building, like a camp, right? So you have a large room or a large area where kids sleep, and then you have to physically go. And that's just a PR nightmare and a family engagement nightmare that we don't want to have to manage, right? But I'm not convinced that it is like off the table. Not because I love it, but because I think we have to have 3 viable options. And I think we have to keep working until we have 3 viable options. And so what we've asked them to do, because I think they did hear us, even though I think they'd prefer to not have heard us, there are some options with rooms with bathrooms accessible within the actual location of where kids sleep. And they're going to take their footprint and then sort of highlight for us like how many of those beds they have, right? And I think we have to keep looking at that option until it is no longer an option. And so just from the terms of 3, Woody probably thinks I like everything in 3s. I think we need one more option, right? And so please don't stop looking, even if you fall in love with the site that you see today, everyone. Please don't stop looking. I think, you know, I'm still convinced that there's some college or university somewhere in the area that has a dorm that's not completely filled that they might be convinced to separate with. Anita, what was the other? You said, we talked about
Hotels.
hotels, right? There might be a hotel that was going to take their hotel offline, right, for a major renovation. And they might be willing to delay that renovation for us to use it for, you know, however long we need to use it. And then retreat centers. I think we do need one more viable option. And Sarah, I see your hand up. Stop talking.
Leslie, I'm glad to hear you throw hotels in the mix, because one thing to consider when LMU was facing a housing shortage, they utilized what is now called the June Hotel, which is just up from the campus. It's formerly was the Custom and the Farama, but they occupied, I think, maybe 3 levels of that building. And so the proximity to campus is, I think, something we should consider or just begin to explore, because I think there would be some openness to allocating classroom space.
Great.
Sarah, what was the name of that hotel again? Just so I can get that.
The June Hotel. I know it well. I park there when I'm picking up my kids for the airport. It's like right there.
It's a great location near the airport.
It's very close to the airport to LAX. And you know, ideally I heard from Leslie that they'd like everything in one place, but you know, classrooms and everything, but it's worth looking at.
Woody, did you just say something?
No, I was just saying, got it. As I'm looking at it now, I'm adding to my notes. That's all.
Okay, great. Awesome. So, you know, I think ideally, because we want to start like actively recruiting in October, right? I think ideally we'd like to have this nailed down by the end of September. That's just in my ideal world. And I think it actually enhances our ability to fundraise and recruit. So yeah, so please don't let until the temporary site committee, but let those of us who are working on this daily, you know, decide something's not going to work. Just shoot your ideas. Let's not disqualify ideas until they really need to be disqualified.
Great. Agreed.
Is it required that we maintain temporary space in LA County?
We don't know. I actually think that should be the answer. I think that, so just like certainly we could have school at Camp Waldorf. Is it Bob Waldorf? Certainly we could have it there. I just think that, you know, I try and run everything by, I call it the Washington Post headline test, right? What does that story look like when a child, you know, videotapes himself walking from the dorm to the bathroom at, you know, 1 a.m. and, you know, and a bear comes out or a bunny stepped on their foot, right? Because we saw multiple
I saw bunnies. I loved it. Little rabbit.
Right. So what does that story, how does it play? I think taking county money and going outside the county is that same story. And I think we would have to get sign off from the county. And so I'd love not to.
That makes sense.
I raised my hand, but I don't have a question, more a comment, and that is that it's also fire season at that time, generally speaking. And so that just may add one more layer of complexity potentially to the decision.
That is a really good point.
Jennifer. Oh,
Great, especially this year, given what they're, these coming years, given what they're predicting with the drought situation and stuff. Really need to factor that in.
So I just want you guys to know what it was like to actually run a school in the only building that took on like specific damage in the hurricane. And so when you say fire, I think all of my I think it was Hurricane Irma traumatized me in Miami. So, okay, now it's fire. Earthquakes are fire. But I want to say I'm really hopeful, and I think obviously we're gonna figure this out. You know what? Maybe that's the public service announcement that I'll just make a note of. Like, to date, we have already figured out some really difficult things, and there is no evidence in our history that says we won't figure this out. And I would just ask us always to remember that even moving forward, like, we have already done the thing that people said we could not do. And so we will figure out everything. We just may not figure it all out today.
Agreed. Thank you.
I'm
Okay,
so
yeah.
ready to give kids a pep talk about starting school, but not living like at school yet. I just be like, hey, everybody, from experience, you'll survive this. It'll be okay.
Yes.
We will need you to do that.
That's great. All right, thanks. Okay, so we can, if everyone's comfortable moving on, we can move on. If not, raise your hand or just unmute and just ask your question. Otherwise, we can move into the next section, which has budget update. And unless there is an update, I think we can move forward. Was there anything anyone was going to mention? I don't have any information about that, so go ahead.
As maybe you have it under a separate item. I don't have the agenda up at the moment because my other computer's messing up. But you're approving a budget, right? So
Currently,
you have to, okay, so let me, yeah. For LACO, we have to submit a budget for 21-22 that is in balance with the resources we have, which was the budget A that I shared. Did that get out, Woody, and all that?
Yeah, those budgets went out.
Okay, so that's all. I'm just suggesting that budget A be approved so that we can send it to LACO. And it doesn't matter if it was the revised one, Ruth, or not. I don't think that matters as much. We rejiggered it slightly, but just a budget, or a budget, which was what we included was about $650,000 budget, even though we know, because we are fundraising for a much larger budget, but at LACO requires a budget based on resources that you have in hand. And so this is the 650 is the balance of the Peterson grant that was received. And so we crafted a budget based on the 650.
Can we actually use different words? The Peterson grant that was awarded but not received.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Well, LACO.
so Anita, just to confirm, there's no substantive change to the budget. This was more that it needed to be reformatted per LACO's instructions. Basically, based on what was circulated, correct?
Yeah, Ruth, can I say something? There's no change to the expenses. Right, so the bottom line remained the same as what was put in front of the board. However, to your point and Anita's point, we actually did not believe LACO needed a budget for this year, and we probably still don't know that we agree with them, but they're LACO, right? And so we needed to show a budget based upon, to Anita's point, what we actually have, and so that the budget.
Oops, you froze.
Zoom is so hard.
Oh, well, yeah, it's especially if you're, not right next to some sort of signal.
The change, Ruth, that I sent that Laura sent Woody, there was just a little bit more in legal expenses because there's been a little bit more of legal. So she was just moving things around a little bit, but either one, it doesn't matter. And it turns out that Exid has to load it into LACO's format, but for temporarily, they just want to see that we have the budget in Exid's format. I got a very strange call from LACO yesterday morning asking, for address because they wanted to send Seed a letter about the budget. And I'm like, can you just email what you're trying? And they said no. So they needed, it took a lot. So I'm not quite sure, but I do know having an approved budget by the board before June 30th is actually a requirement of charter schools because it's not a charter school yet. As Leslie said, it's confusing, but we should do it anyways. So that's the goal.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Per Brown Act, per Brown Act, we are going to, we have this meeting scheduled from 9 to 11. We're going to wrap up our meeting soon. We need to call a special meeting to approve this budget. We need to send out those documents. We can have a special meeting. Woody just needs to quickly agendize this and post it. We're going to call a special meeting right after this meeting. So we're going to hang up when we're done with this meeting, and we're going to call a special meeting to approve these items because they are currently not on our agenda, and per the Brown Act, we cannot approve it. So we're going to move past this, and we're going to just do that quickly. Okay, so that this gets done in time. So we'll do that, right, Woody? We got it. And then Rod will be able to join us at 10. We know that. So if we'll still have a quorum if one of one of the other board members has to drop off, just so you know, or, rejoin. I know everyone's following me. Okay, so let's move forward then to fundraising update. I don't know that we have a major update except that, and I don't think Rebecca's on here. So I think Anita, Leslie, Woody, let's all jump in and just talk about the 2025, which is the most important thing because it's happening right now. And you know what, Woody, we'll do the talking so you can do the agenda. So go do what you gotta do. So we will, I'm sure everyone has seen the email about the potential for us to get the 2050, $100,000. This really does, it's, I don't want to say it's a popularity contest, but it is in the sense that the more votes win, period. So we need to push out the collateral that was sent out to everybody, and we need to get as many people voting and pushing out the message to get their friends to vote, to get our colleagues to vote. And it not only is it obviously we would love to have the $100,000, but it's also great for building awareness and introducing us to other potential funders. So anybody have any questions about what had been sent out? We also, just so you know, sorry, cut everybody off. We also have hired someone, a professional social media, I don't even know what you call it, someone who does posting, who does that. So for this, do you want to talk, Woody? No? Okay. Someone who, that's their job, is to help push this, boost our messaging. So we do have a professional on the case right now. So any questions about that? Leslie, Anita, want to add anything?
Now we're, and just to know, like, we pushed it out to, our entire network, all of our school leaders, all of our schools, our teachers, everyone, and then to our annual fund list. We pushed it out.
I've also shared with Metro and asked them to share that internally. And then I think the same request to share also with your personal networks to see how much traction we can get. As Ruth mentioned, this is essentially a popularity contest. It's truly the most, not the most likes, but the most votes wins. And so we want to make sure we get cast as wide as a net as possible.
Ruth, for the social media manager person pointing this, I'd also explore with them their ability to repost or request with other accounts that they repost content coming from the Seed LA platforms. That would be another way for them to push out the awareness and have other voices endorsing the project.
Can I ask you a favor? Would you email that to Rebecca, what you just
Will
said?
do. Yep. Will do.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. All right. So is there any other big? Oh, hi, Rod.
Bruce,
Hello.
the only other thing I would just say is that probably in the next month or so, we'll push out just a more comprehensive fundraising strategy that will need to just engage the entire board. We don't have to do it here, Ruth. I think it'd be helpful. I have a couple of dates I'd love to sort of put in front of you. I think that we agreed to do some strategy work this summer. And I'd love to, if people are meeting in person, I'd love to try and figure out how to do that while I'm here next month. But that's just it. I think we owe the board a larger fundraising strategy. And then I think that there's some other governance and strategy work that we agreed to do over the summer.
It's short notice, but my birthday is next month, 7 July. So please feel free to use my birthday as like, gift to an alum, gift to Seed LA. I don't know, like if you want to do that, like please feel free to any type of leverage that might provide. I'm turning 35. I would love to allow that to be used to get people to give us money and to garner attention. So if you need me to do anything with that, obviously, of course, share stuff on social media, but beyond that, I'm super open to it.
Sophia, you just hurt me. Really, I'm sorry, everyone. I
was trying to present it, and like I knew when I said it, it was gonna be weird, but one day the kids graduating from Seed LA are gonna be turning 35, and then what, Miss Poole? Like we just gotta embrace it.
Okay.
All for sharing strategies. Love it. Whatever works. Okay, so so when we're talking about the fundraising, obviously we're primarily talking about all the subscale items that we need to cover. So I am going to, unless there's additional questions about any of this, let's move into the next one. Actually, before I do that, Rod, since you just jumped on, I want you to know when we are finished with this meeting, we are going to sign off and then immediately jump back on to have a special meeting where we approve some budget items. And if you're talking to me, you're on mute. You may be talking to someone else. Okay, so I have the next item I have as talent update. I don't know if that's a placeholder or if we have placeholder.
Yeah, I think there's a, yeah, but I think we don't need anything right now. Woody, is
Yeah,
that correct?
there's no real substantive update. As you all know, she starts July 1. And that's about it.
Great. And then same for the governance. That was also a placeholder, correct?
Yeah,
You just mentioned, we will discuss that when you're here and, okay, great.
yeah, perfect. Two
All right.
agenda items with you.
All right, so we are done with the main agenda items. Technically, we're in open session. It is only us. Right? Okay, so if there are any additional questions or anything about all of this, let's mention them now. Otherwise, I believe Woody will have noticed this next meeting with the information we need to hang up and get back on, as well as circulating